We are now joined by retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel L. Davis. He's a military expert and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us on WION and coming back. I guess the question many are asking is, what implications does the assassination of Haniyeh have for the already volatile Israel-Gaza conflict, and how might it impact regional dynamics with Iran's involvement at this point?
Every way it's bad, quite frankly. Haniyeh was, by all accounts, was personally taking part in lots of the negotiations to try to find a ceasefire. He'd been doing shuttle diplomacy between a number of locations, and to take him out when allegedly, at least according to some reports, the sides were getting close to being able to make some sort of an agreement. Just bodes very ill for any possibility of reaching a ceasefire, much less an actual peace between the warring parties here, and raises the possibility of an expanded war. Because if people in the region, just bluntly stated, see that Israel assassinates the leaders with whom they're negotiating for any kind of a end of a conflict, and then they kill them when they're somewhere else, then that's going to make them anyone else much less likely to want to engage diplomatically with Israel, and may make them feel even more strongly about opposing Israel. So I think that this is a huge setback for the region, a major setback for any kind of movement towards peace, and I fear that war is going to continue to rage on and possibly even expand.
Iran has vowed a revenge, but some might argue that Haniyeh's assassination for Iran is not as big as, for example, Qasem Soleimani's assassination a few years ago by the Trump administration. And this killing of Haniyeh comes shortly after Benjamin Netanyahu visited the U.S. And as you mentioned, some reports say that there was sort of a hope to get to some kind of negotiated settlement. So what might have Israel calculated by this move?
Well, I mean, you have to look at it at face value and to conclude that there are at least some in the Israeli government that don't want peace. They don't want a negotiated settlement. They don't want to have to deal with Hamas. I mean, there's been, lots of friction between the White House and Jerusalem over the issue of what happens next. The President Biden has been saying from the beginning. Vice President Kamala Harris is now saying again, just a couple of days ago, that they want a two-state solution, that they want a path where the Palestinian people, not Hamas, have a shot at having, autonomy and freedom and, and a path forward for land. And we know for sure that Netanyahu was categorically against that, and many in his government are adamantly opposed to it. And so when you see them assassinate in Tehran the leader of, the sect that they were negotiating with to try to find a ceasefire, then you can nearly only conclude that they didn't want that ceasefire. And the reasons why, we could only speculate on. But to your your other point there about Iran, certainly they're going to respond somewhat less emotionally than if it was someone in their government. But because it was in their capital and at the event of the inauguration of their president, they are very, very angry about that. And so it could actually meet the same level of anger. But they are kind of constrained in what they can do, because they have to be careful not to respond in too strong of a way that gets them back in the crosshairs or so. So it's going to continue to be a messy and probably violent condition.
Thank you so much for that thorough analysis, Lieutenant Colonel. It's always great to have you on, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon as we follow this important story very closely.
Thank you very much.